Hello, and welcome to the third episode of Toward a More Just Future, a podcast from Rutgers School of Social Work. My name is Marla Blunt-Carter, and I am an assistant professor of professional practice at Rutgers School of Social Work. Today, I will be speaking with Valerie Biden Owens, a media consultant, political strategist, and so much more. She also happens to be the sister of President Joe Biden. During her 50-year career, Valerie ran numerous political campaigns at a local, state, and national level. And for this and many other reasons, I consider Valerie a change maker. Valerie, thank you so much for joining us today. And let me personally thank you for being an inspiration to me. It was important that I had you on this podcast so that others could learn the many lessons that you taught me. I just really appreciate you. And I'm glad that you are here to join us today. So tell the listeners, who is Valerie Biden Owens?
Well, first of all, thank you, Marla, and you're my friend, and I appreciate you. Valerie Biden Owens. I am the daughter of Jean Finnegan Biden and Joesph R. Biden Sr. I'm the sister of Joe, Jim, and Frankie Biden. I'm the wife of Jack Owens. I'm the mother of Missy, Cuff, and Casey Owens. But I just want to set everything straight from the beginning. I am Valerie Biden Owens, and on my own, Marla, I'm a hell of a woman. Okay?
That I know.
Okay, now we can proceed.
Yes, there's a quote that was shared with me that the best way to describe you is that you are an iron fist in a cashmere glove. And I think that that is true, that you are tough as nails, but you are also classy, graceful, brilliant, beautiful, but you are one badass woman.
Thank you. Hey, can we keep this interview going for a couple hours? That sounds really good.
Well, you know, but I think that people need to understand that change makers aren't just those that we see on television. There are powerful people doing great work behind the scenes, and you've worked behind the scenes for years, and I personally pattern myself in the work that I do after you. So let's go back to 1970. Let's go back to when it all began. And you and then your big brother, Joe, made the decision to run for county council. Did you have any idea what was next, that you would become a part of American history? Did you have any idea?
Well, I knew that my brother was going to make an impact. I knew that my brother's commitment to public service was part of his DNA. Mm-hmm. So I knew that we were in the game to make things better. We were in for the long haul. In truth, did I think that he would be president of the United States? That didn't occur. I mean, that wasn't the goal. Of course, I mean, he could have been. He was my big brother, Joey. God, he could have been anything. But that wasn't foremost in my mind in 1970. Mm-hmm. I just knew that whatever he did, I would be doing it with him, either behind him, giving him a little push, in front of him, giving him a little pull, or walking alongside him as his equal, because that's the way it always was with us. We were always a team. I mean, from the time I was a little girl, I opened my eyes and he put out his hand and he said, "Come on, Val." He said, "We have things to do, places to go, and people to see." And off we went on this journey. And Edith Wharton said it best, I think, and not about me and Joe, but about our view. And she said that there are two ways to spread the light. One is to be the candle, and the other, the mirror that reflects it. Either way, you are responsible for spreading the light. Sometimes Joe was the candle and I was the mirror, but he always flipped it and made sure that sometimes I was the candle and he was the mirror, where we've been best friends and confidants since the day I can remember. So did I know we were going to end up in the White House? No, but I knew that that he was going to do great things and that I was going to be with him.
So you were 20 something years old. What was your major in college?
I was an English.
Yeah.
I was an English and history major.
Okay.
And I loved history and I loved literature and writing. Yes. So I was an English and history major. I was one of the people in growing up that wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an astronaut. I just knew that I wanted to be an achiever, to make a difference, to be financially stable, that I didn't have to depend on anyone. And I decided in my last semester in college, to take a course in student teaching at Mount Pleasant. I took a course which allowed me to student teach, which at Mount Pleasant
High School.
Yeah. You know that.
Yeah, I went to Brandywine. That's the Brandywine School District. Yes.
Yeah. And I taught seniors and sophomores at Mount Pleasant High School, and I loved it. So when I got out of college, I said, that's what I'm going to do. I went into teaching, and that's where the career started in 1970 with Joe and County Council. I was a teacher at Wilmington Friends School here in down the street in Delaware.
So how did you learn how to run a campaign then? I mean, you were not a political science major. You were not someone that was born into a political family. You were a teacher. What was it that gave you the belief that you could run a campaign?
Well, what I've said whenever I have an opportunity is that confidence is the number one prerequisite for success in life. And I had the great advantage of having a big brother who told me from the beginning that whatever he could do, I could do better. He said I was smarter than he, I was more athletic than he, whatever it was. He said there was nothing that he could do that or that any woman couldn't do, but particularly me. He used to bring me with him, and his friends would say, "Why'd you bring a girl?" And his answer was, "She's not a girl, she's my sister." Right. So I didn't know enough to know what I couldn't do.
Right.
I didn't know enough to be intimidated. And you're right, when we ran for county council and then for the US Senate,
right,
we had no power, we had no influence. The Democratic Party was not a firmly constructed party at that time. Right. We had no money. As a matter of fact, we owed money personally. So but I said, Joey, I can't. One thing running county council, that's a small district, and we go door to door and we meet people one-on-one. But I said, running that for the United States Senate, I can't do that. I don't know how to do it. And he said, of course you do. He said, we'll figure it out. He said, it's just the same thing. Politics is personal. Yes. We built these many concentric circles around for county council, and we just expanded for the U.S. Senate. And he said, we'll figure it out. And we did. He's the first U.S. Senator that he and I ever knew. And I'm the first campaign manager I ever knew. So sometimes it's good to not know everything, because had I known the unwelcoming environment for women in politics at that time, when all the pundits were men, and they thought it should be that way, that women were only supposed to open and close headquarters, they were able to talk to the volunteers, answer the phones, and bring in the mail.
Not make the decisions.
Yeah. Right. And so had I known that, I probably would have been intimidated.
Right.
But I didn't know. Joe said we could do it. He said he could be senator. So if he could be senator, great. I could be his campaign manager. He picked me first to be on his team my entire life. So, we just jumped in, and the rest is history. There's a lot of it wasn't just La La Land. You
Oh,
were with me. You know
it-
what these campaigns are like.
and
So
that's what I was going to say. So I one of my best memories of watching you in action was in 2007 in Iowa, and we were at a university,
yes,
and
yeah.
your brother, President Biden, hadn't arrived and was late because of a snowstorm or something. And so there were over 100 people, 100 kids in this room. And they were waiting to hear from him. And the two of us were
For
just
an hour and a
standing
half.
there for an hour and a half. And we were standing there like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? And you just jumped in like, okay, I know what to do. And you were the best surrogate I have ever seen. I mean, that's when I said, I need to start taking notes right here, right now, because your ability to act on your feet and to really share his message, it was as if he was there. By the time he got there, you had already won the support of the whole room. And, I just wonder, did you learn that over the course of running the campaigns? Is that something innate that your parents taught you to be that confident in yourself? That self-assuredness was so, it was more than impressive, it was inspiring. What is that
Well,
something
you're leaving out half the story there, half the part, which is you.
well,
Because we had that auditorium of 150 kids for an hour and a half of college students who were impatient on a weekday night. They had other things to do.
right.
And you and I passed the baton, the mic,
We
back
did.
and forth. And we entertained them. We told jokes, but we talked about things that mattered to them. We listened to them. And you asked me, like, how did I get that confidence?
And how did you just learn how to do that? Again, you were not a political science major. You did not learn. I watched my father. I watched your brother. I watched you. Who did you watch? Like, how did you learn that? Where did that come from?
I I I didn't learn it. I look, confidence is not part of one's DNA. I said I didn't actively take notes to learn how to be confident. I hung around with my brother, who told me I could be anything that I wanted to be, and my parents, who said you can be anything. And they were always encouraged. It's wonderful to have a mentor, somebody who, when you're down, who says, come on, you can do this.
Mhm.
Confidence is not something, as I said, it's not part of your DNA. It's something really hard to get a hold of. Some people get it a little bit more easily, or a lot more easily than others. And look, Marla, once you have it, doesn't mean it stays. I mean, sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I could just feel it slip right through my
Right,
fingers. Like, oh my God, what do I do now?
right.
And I think that what we did that night, because I remember it clearly, we uh, we we paid attention and listened to the pulse of the room.
Yes.
We, I think, to be a good listener or a good politician, which, by the way, being a good politics is a noble profession,
I agree. It's service.
and it is the art and science of living together peacefully. And what we did is we stood there and we listened, we spoke, and you can feel the texture. You can almost taste what's going on. And I think the other thing is that we were respectful
Yes.
and acknowledged, thanks for staying here, guys. And I could listen. He's my big brother, so I could tease and make fun of him and saying,
Right.
okay, well, this is what I've been doing my entire life. You think you've got it bad. You're waiting an hour and a half tonight. I've been waiting my entire life, for my brother. It's not
Yeah.
easy raising him.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question,
Yes,
because I forget
very
what the
much.
question was.
Well, very much so. And you spoke about the politics being the art and science of living peacefully together. There's a thought that social work is the art and science of helping others. So it really is a marriage of art and science. a lot. And I think that understanding best practices when it comes to politics is just through experience, what works and what doesn't work. And watching what works is pretty humbling, because it puts you in a place where you realize that you can change someone's life by what you say. And I think we changed a lot of people's minds that night. But and I know today that you and your brother and your family are changing people's lives right now, especially with some of the things that President Biden is doing in the White House, changing lives. You've influenced so many lives, and you've inspired so many women to show them how to engage and influence others in the political process. I know that you've traveled the world teaching women about leadership. So what's the difference now versus then, when you began? Over time, have you seen more women be as successful in this field of politics? How has that happened? What have you seen?
Well, yes, the answer is we've come a long way, baby, but
Yes.
we still have a long way to go. Women have decided, I'm not playing by those rules anymore. I mean, what we had to do to get in the game is we had to suit up.
Right.
And we had to say, not, in anger or, robust bravado, I'm not taking this anymore. We said, things aren't going so great. I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna do something about it.
Right.
And women are inherently, we can be just as venal and as unpleasant as men.
Right.
But you know what? What we are, the reason that it's so important to have women involved in the political picture and actual structure of making things work, is that we have a different approach shot. Like, what they say in golf, you got to get off the green to get on the green. We have a different way to approach problems. That's why there are men and there are women. We think differently. Together, we can make things work, but not when have to, what is it? The Chinese philosopher said that women make up half the sky. Well, you're never going to solve the problems of the world when you stop and half the productivity, half the creativity, half the joy. You can't, you're only going to solve half the problems. Right. So what really happened, there were good men encouraging women to step up, but women themselves, they said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. So it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out.
Right.
And because it's become a rough and tumble sport.
Right.
But we suited up in our heels and our skirts and our pantsuits and went out and said, we're going to change things. And we sure have. And, you mentioned social worker, you were talking about the politics, but to be a social worker is an art and a science.
Yeah.
Because, you have a social worker has the urgency of now. You see the problems, you have the knowledge, and you want to change. You want to bring about change. So there's an urgency of now.
Right.
But there's also the realization that a social worker, you're kind of like more like a tanker or a big ocean vessel.
Yes.
You're not a PT boat.
Right. It takes time.
So it takes time.
Yeah.
You cannot, that ocean liner that's loaded down with people or articles, it takes a long time for it to make that turn. Now a PT boat goes, can turn into this tributary, can beach on this side. Right. and move quickly. So you have enormous potential of seeing and ideas and vision of where we want to go. But
Right.
you also have to have an enormous amount of patience, because you got to bring everybody along with you. So you've got a very tough job to do.
Yeah, and I think, understanding what you just said, the the complexities of our profession, but also the versatility of our skill set, in that we can perform in the micro, meso, and macro level. And that's why I love seeing social workers in politics, because individuals often assume that social work is direct practice, is therapy, is, case management. But social workers are very much needed in policy making, in social planning, and looking at issues and addressing the issues in a way that it creates systemic change. And I think that you training women, teaching individuals that have gone through different trainings that you do on leadership, and helping them to understand their role in creating change is important. It's as if you married the English teacher with the political operative, and now here you are, an educator. You're now at the Biden Institute. You are, or the Biden School for Public Policy at our alma mater, the University of Delaware.
Yep.
This is another
kind of full circle.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. This is something. You're back to where it all began, right?
And we have the opportunity to merge academia, which is the policy, the textbook, with the politics, which is the practice of the civic responsibility that you learn about in the textbook. So
I love it.
It's a great place to be. And I'm a teacher at heart. I started out, and serendipity plays such a large role in life. I didn't grow up wanting to be a teacher, but I took it in my last semester, and I fell in love with it. So and being a social worker and being in politics, you teach just by being involved and engaging in the system. It's not just the words you say,
right?
It's what you do and how you lead. And women, by the way, which I tell the women any place, any country I am, women say, oh gosh, shucks, what can I do? I'm not that powerful. What are you talking about? Women, by our very nature, we are the primary force in nature. Mm. We were born powerful. Mm-hmm. It's not, I always rub up against, this is the time when we're going to empower women. Nobody's going to empower women. Nobody's going to empower me. I already have the power. What we have to do, though, is to collectively, the women who are able, we've got to create the opportunity, so that we can unleash this power. And this is woman is the primary force in nature. Mm-hmm. We're the first consciousness, the first source of sustenance. We're the first breath. We're the first teachers. Mm-hmm. We're it. So we have a responsibility, and we gotta do it the right way.
You sound like your mom.
Oh, thank you. It's a great compliment.
It is a great compliment. I remember being at a Christmas party, and she came to me, and at the time, I was known for having all kinds of crazy hairstyles. I would change my hairstyle like I changed change. I know
clothes. I was always so envious. You were so always practical and glamorous. I never got the two together.
Oh, well, your mom was just the sweetest thing, and just so feisty and so honest, but so sweet. And she came up to me and she said, I love that hair. And I said, why, thank you very much. And she turned around and she said to your brother, she said, Joey, do you think I could do that to my hair? And she just, did that. And she just was so real. I think it's your authenticity. I think it's you being the same vow everywhere you go, in every room that you're in. That's what makes you so influential. That's what makes you a change maker, because people know that you're telling your truth, and you will do what you say you will do. You always say, and so does your brother, that you give your word as abiding.
Yeah.
Integrity is one of the 6 core values of social work. That type of characteristic quality is something that people don't often associate with politics.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
they don't. People, when you say politician, it's got a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But as you two, you in particular with me, you've presented integrity in a way that makes me want to be in politics.
Well, you are in the best sense of the word, every aspect of our community. I mean, our life is politics, whether it's how we deal. The skills that we need to be a good politician are the same skills we need to be in the business community, working in corporate America, working as a social worker. It's the ability to have vision. It's the ability to think out of the blocks. It's the ability to make decisions know how to move at a moment's notice, know how to pivot or else, to keep going. So I think, again, politics is a noble profession. And I wanted to just clear one thing. When you talked about my mom, you said she was sweet, and she was, but she was no pushover. My mom, I made a speech once, and but my mom was like the Rose of Shannon.
Okay.
She was beautiful, and she had thorns, but she never drew first blood. Mm-hmm. But if you drew first blood, watch out.
Right. Wow.
And so that's my mom.
Well, Val, you have shared so much, and I appreciate you sharing your time. I have one last question, though.
Sure.
As someone that has always played a pivotal role in supporting policymakers and change makers, what advice would you give to social workers who seek to create change?
I would tell them, first of all, to listen up. They may have their master's or their extended degrees from the book learning, but where they get the feel and to be so effective is when they're out in the community. So you need the book learning, you need the knowledge. But the most important thing is you need the empathy.
Yes.
And you can't fake that. Some social workers, like some politicians, shouldn't be politicians. Some social workers shouldn't be social workers. It is empathy, which is a word that is becoming overused, but a quality that is underused.
Right. Yes.
You the ability to feel and to taste and to walk in another person's skin, like Harper, in To Kill a Mockingbird. To be able to walk in somebody else's skin is a tremendous ability, and it's difficult to have. So that feeling the empathy, having the knowledge, listening up. Again, a social worker has the urgency of now. I got to change it. I want to move it now. So it's such a realistic, almost a damper to realize like, I can't do it like a PT boat. I got to have patience, and I got to bring other people along. So you, as a social worker, you have to teach. It's about values. It's not about it's not about a particular step you have to take. It's about education. It's about values. It's about empathy. And you have a very hard job, but my God, what a rewarding one. Yes. Look what you've done in the world, and how you've brought our culture and America around to the good that all the good that we've done. So keep up the fight, keep giving them hell, and God bless you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Val, so much. And We appreciate you just sharing your time and your journey and just your love. I can't thank you enough.
Well, I can't wait to get out on the trail. When you need some, you were my buddy on the trail when we were running for president. So I'll be your buddy on any trail you go on. Okay?
Well, I'm going to take you up on that.
All right.
I promise.
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
Thank
Goodbye.
you so much. Bye. There are two words that jump out from our conversation today. The first being authenticity. Valerie Biden Owens, no matter what the room, she is unapologetic and 100% authentic. And the other word is serendipity. How in life, things have a way of playing out if you let it. This season was about shining the light on people who make change. All three of our guests embody the core values of social work: competence, integrity, the dignity and worth of a person, the importance of human relationships, service, and social justice. I've shined the spotlight on Congresswoman Blunt-Rochester, State Senator Sarah McBride, and the incomparable Valerie Biden Owens. And now the spotlight is on you. Are you ready to make change?